Guess what? 3FM 92.7, your favorite urban lifestyle radio station, will be conducting emergency maintenance on our radio infrastructure from the 24th to the 25th of April. The 24th to the 25th of April, please note. During this period, signal strength may be reduced in some areas. We deeply apologize for the inconvenience and we thank you for your patience and continued support. This is 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio, 24th and 25th of April. Here, just on Thursday and Friday. A bit of interruption, but we'll be fine. Right after that, we want to give you the best and the quality that you have been clamoring for.
Some front pages of newspapers scary. We call it daily graphic because it's graphic.
Alan, will there ever be a third force in this country beyond the NDC and the NPP? Will there ever be a third force?
When you look at the data, you look at the elections that have been held over the last however many years and the performance of third forces or parties other than the NDC and the NPP, it doesn't leave you with too much hope. But we've seen many changes in our political landscape that lead me to believe that change is possible. However, it's, I think, more a question of when. The numbers don't look encouraging when it comes to a third force. I think I can pull up the details, but at least in our
there's a whole poll that's been done by Musa Dankwa and his Global Info Analytics. But then if you get a sense from before the 2024 elections, you also would have paid the indication that a lot more Ghanaians were thinking about, we're tired of NDC, we're tired of NPP.
That was the signal I was getting as well.
So Cheddar comes in, Kennedy Japan says, I'll go independent, I'll give you a showdown. You know, that expectation was that we're going to depart from NDC and NPP. And then we went to the elections and it looked like everybody else was missing.
In fact, was it one of the less encouraging performances performance by a third force that we've seen?
Right,
in fact, we've had better performances, not by far, but I mean...
Gum has showed us Guzitano's reform, UGM by Reku Brobe, we had seen, so you start asking yourself, what was the match ado about?
But actually, when we lost that opportunity to if you like, create a third force.
Papa Kwesi Indum.
Yes,
PPP.
Indum and no, not PPP. Indum phase 1 CPP. So Indum and Abu Sakara.
Right, Abu Sakara.
That combination was so powerful. Unfortunately, it didn't translate into the votes. But the groundswell was there, the reception, the message penetration. They were able to carry Ghanaians along.
Right.
But of course, that was on me. I just told myself that it doesn't matter what you do. We'll come back to the same NDC.
The CPP is my father and my grandfather's party. Yeah, the CPP has suffered, greatly. Look at George Opesika Goody. He comes in, he's not happy about the thing, he checks out. Indum comes in, not happy about the thing, checks out. Professor George Penyegan comes in, not too happy about it. So literally, the CPP has become more like a touch and go.
No, it is not a touch and go. It is because there are some people. Let me say this.
Hold on, I'm looking at the historical antecedents.
Yes.
After Papa Kwesi Indum thought that, I can't win with CPP, let me go and form PPP. George Opesika Goody said, okay, I can't, let me go and find somewhere and say, Professor Penny Hagan, okay. So you find that
PPP comes from the CPP.
Right, PNC.
PNC comes from the CPP. No, even PNC goes way back. Let's look at it more recently, more recent political history.
Right.
So you have PPP,
Fallout.
You have APC.
Ayariga, yes. In fact, Ayariga also contested after he lost. He went to form his own party.
To form a party.
Right.
So you see, I go around proudly saying that I'm CPP, and it's not something I hide. I say it everywhere I go.
Modern day Kubaku.
Thank you. But you see, my experience with the CPP, that there seemed to be, a lot more interest in saying, this is how Nkrumah did it. Let us do it that way. If you don't agree with that, then you are in trouble. Imagine how the CPP lost the likes of Edmond Dele, Professor.
Right, Professor Edmond Dele.
Just imagine.
Now, Professor.
Now a chief. He cannot do politics again.
Right.
Imagine how the CPP lost the likes of my friend Ernesto.
Niama Confran.
Neama. And in fact, it was
Asanitano.
when Neama became General Secretary of the CPP that the CPP then had its last blows. Because that was the time there were attempts to remove Niama.
Right.
And Ernesto as youth organizer. And then everybody said, okay, now let it be. We are tired. Then we saw again attempts at reorganization. We saw Nanaya Jantwa, all over the place, every platform. Every platform, I am CPP, I am CPP, I am CPP.
But
then his brother,
she was kicked
no,
out.
he resigned.
No, she was kicked out. Nanaya was kicked out.
He resigned.
He was suspended.
Nanaya.
She saw that they were going to remove her.
But that's why I'm saying that your party has become a touch and go party.
No, but 6 was she not actually officially
No, they were
removed?
No,
before
they were
she-
removed.
Yes,
They were
she was
removed.
actually
No, at the
officially
Kumasi
removed.
event.
Yes, they were removed.
No, she left. Oh.
No, they were removed.
She was
They were
removed.
suspended.
I'm
of them.
I'm going to
No,
find
it
that
was an
communique.
M block. Oh.
I said there was M Block. Apart from Kwame Nkrumah Boche, who was brought back, who was deputy
Yes,
to Nanaya
yes,
Jantwa,
yes, yes,
they
that's
were
the name I was looking
they
for.
were M Block they were sacked, literally.
Okay, so imagine a party that cannot boast of one constituency.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that your
You
party has
don't
become a
have-
touch and go. And I've given you.
You want
history.
to use the phrase?
No,
okay, use it.
I'm not the one. I'm not the one. Helen, am I the one forcing this touch and go? Because you see a party. You see a party that is struggling, and then you see people come forward to say, "Okay, we want to help." Look, Professor Ajima Bedouako says, "Time, lawyer Brighter, quit his time."
Time, yes.
Look, you would find a lot of vibe around the CPP because people say,
Heavyweights.
Okay, so these guys, they're CPP. Oh, then let's gravitate towards them. And then you find that some people come, like you're saying, oh, this is not how Nkrumah would have done it, so let's leave it. But if Nkrumah, I dare say that if Nkrumah were present today, Nkrumah would have done things differently than what's happening.
Of course, because the landscape is changing.
When Nkrumah came into the country in the 40s, when he came back after studies, in the UK, US, wherever it was, when he came back, he came to do things differently. What the Danquers and
which
the,
earned him fallouts from the
exactly the point, and that history has stayed with the UGCC. That history has stayed with us through and through and through. We'll go on to the phone line shortly and try and connect with some of our guests who have joined us on the phone line. Dr. Bernard Tutu Boahen is joining us on the phone line. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you, sir?
Alive and well, greater than Accra. Is Ghana ready for a third force?
Good morning to Musa, my friend. And
Musa is not here yet, but you are here alone, so right.
Okay, so fine. So good morning to everyone. I think that I wouldn't say that Ghana is ready for the third force. Looking at the trend of voting, of Ghanaians, but I would also not be quick, to rule out the possibility of a third force in Ghana. Looking at the fact that, yes, even though Musa's Danquers, polls 51%, seems to suggest that there's no need for a third force, whilst about 31% have also shown interest, in a third force. And so, comparing 51-31, what it means is that possibly some section of Ghanaians believe that having a third force is something that probably they are looking forward to. And earlier on, I think somewhere in 2020, I did a small sample, And it's also indicated to me that some section of Ghanaians, not really the majority of respondents though, seems to suggest that, having a third force is good. And the reason that came up was that it will at least put the two major political parties on their toes. And so I wouldn't rule out the possibility that if a credible, vibrant, powerful third force party, come into existence, and that party is able to influence the perception, of Ghanaians, possibly they could give the two major political parties a run for their money. And so, for me, it is not an issue of people saying that third force is not a possibility or that. I think that somewhere in Germany, in the German, election that was held recently, a candidate who won, was not that somebody who was actually known in the political scene. I think, yeah. And so, even if people are coming out, and I think New Zealand, the former president of New Zealand, also coming to, occupy the highest seat.
Right.
Give the impression that, the democratic, dispensation across the world or some part of the world in recent times actually is trying to embrace.
Okay.
And having a third party could be a change that will come in Ghana probably in future.
Great. Let me engage Dr. Marco Banho join us now. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Hughes.
Great. Doc, third force, are we ready yet as a country?
Well, if you look at the statistics, no. Because if we are ready, where does the spillover go? If we had a third party, NPP did this badly, they will come up. You see, the third party will come up. Instead of people voting for NDC, maybe then they will vote for the third party. That is non-existent. So now we don't have anything to build around it yet. So I can't say we are ready. If we saw the examples, like at this instant, people going there to vote for the third party instead, then we can say yes. And until it comes into existence, we still have the two parties. Even the two parties now is not working very well because one is almost going out of business.
Now, if we are not ready now, it does appear that the electorate are clamoring for something different beyond the duopoly of NDC and NPP. We saw Cheddar come into the fray. We've seen Hassan Ayariga. We've seen many others, have come in, tried, but they really couldn't click what the electorate were looking for. If anybody has to come with a third force, what should they really be coming to the table with?
Well, you'll be surprised. What I'm going to say will be surprise you because I don't think the two-party system is going to work. We are too poor to package that system. That system is expensive, you see. I'll ask you a question. How many people do you need to make a decision for the government in terms of spend money or don't spend money? How many? Do you need 20 or do you need 270? 76. That is the question. We have to look at that. Why do we need 276 people to make a decision? Some of them don't even speak English. They don't participate. And yet, we use a lot of money to pay them. Then you look at district assemblies. It said devolution, and so your devolution. Now that too has become a big budget item. How much money would you have left to work with? Then you look at our embassies. We have to have embassies in all the countries that we do now. No, we're a poor country. You're a small country. One ambassador stationed in the midst, London, can be responsible for Spain, Italy, and so many other countries. So if the issue is in that place, we'll make arrangements where you can use certain places for a meeting. Don't have embassies everywhere because the other countries have. No. What countries don't do that? There are so many things we need to look at. It's not just the people. The structure we have built makes no sense. We spend money on elections more than anything else. Every 4 years, Electoral Commission, ID card, whatever. I wonder if this coming 4 years, that will come up again. So we have to look at the whole thing. That's what we're looking at. And people will be very happy to see that their government is working, even though it is not like everybody else.
I see. Dr. Tutubuahin, step in for me. Do we even need a third force at all?
All right. So, for me, I think that, yes, it is. Per definition of our constitution, we are guided by multipartism. So, in as many as it is. But for me, if we could have another force, a third force, that probably would put the two major political parties into that state of seriousness, I think that it would be good. For now, I think that it's just about the head and the tail. So if you toss a coin, you are either getting a head or a tail. All right. And what it also suggests is that, basically, the two major political parties are taking voters and Ghanaians for granted in so many ways. Why do I say that? Anytime that, NPP or NDC is in power, I think with the exception of 2016, we almost spent 8 years in power. And so if a political party, the two major political parties, any of them wins an election, it means that I have 8 years to go. Now, these 8 years that you are traveling, I have not seen any kind of seriousness for a political party to have probably said that for this time, I am doing right things to ensure that, I go beyond, the 8 years, term, and then probably get into 12, 16 years, so that certain projects that you have outlined and certain visions that you have, you are able to implement it for the benefit of Ghanaians. What I see, basically, again, let me go to that small post that I did, that small survey that I did in 2016. One of the key things that people suggested, because they wanted a third party, was that, issues of corruption seems to be, a mantra for the two major political parties. And at any time that they are in power, we see traces of corruption, in public institutions, among politicians, and all that. And again, projects, which uncompleted projects, which are discontinued, whenever a political party takes over.
Right.
And so these are some of the other reasons why people believe that, look, we need to get a third party, a serious one, of course,
right,
which will put these two major political parties on their toes.
Okay.
So that at any point in time when they are in government, they get serious with Ghanaians.
I hear you. Let me bring in Mr. Dankwa of Global Info Analytics. Mr. Thank you very much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning.
What inspired you to be looking into whether or not we need a third force? Why every day you are looking for trouble? What inspired you?
No, I've had conversations with people who believe in good governance and democracy. And they've been asking me that, look, wouldn't Ghanaians be open up to a third force? Or you think this third force is not something that would materialize? And I couldn't answer him. And I said, I have to go back to the voters and ask them. So what we did was to take inspiration from those questions and go to the polls and find out from people what the views are. Now, what We didn't ask them whether they will vote for the third force. No.
Right.
It is without the idea of third force, they will support it. Because some believe that if you bring in a third force, even if the person is NPP or NDC, they believe that the third force will bring something to the table. And that the conversations in parliament or in corridors of power will no longer just be between NPP and NDC, but there will be some other people who also be around the table to bring in their inputs. And that they believe would enhance democracy.
Now, if you look at the responses that you got from the persons you spoke to within your sample, size and all of that, do you get the sense that we are ready as a country for a third force?
Look, there is a window. Remember, just 52% said no to the idea of third force. 31% said yes. And that is a window for those people who are clamoring to be third force. And then 17% are yet to be convinced. So you see, when you put that together, you are getting 48% who may entertain the idea of third force. It may not necessarily mean that they will vote for the third force, but there are people who would begin to ask questions. And then if their questions are not being answered by two main parties, trust me, they will begin to look elsewhere.
But if you look also at the way we have conducted ourselves, you look at the institution of state that must be encouraged or empowered to open up the minds of the citizenry. You're talking NCC, the Electoral Commission, in terms of public and civic responsibility, education, all of that. You find that both the NDC and the NPP are guilty of not giving them the needed resources to go into the nook and cranny of this country to let the people know that they can have options beyond NDC and NPP. Now, if these two parties are the ones who are handing over to each other, come back and they don't want to provide the resources for these institutions that will help to change the narrative if it must at all per the window you have seen, how do we get out of this quagmire?
Look, Johnny, there are other institutions that are not public that don't receive public funds but are able to mobilize resources to do exactly what they are doing. There's nothing stopping the NCC from doing that. Indeed, there are international NGOs, even government organizations that can support NCC. They have to be innovative. They cannot sit and wait for the treasurer, the exchequer to bring the money. They can get up and go and look for money to enhance democracy. That money is there.
Dr. Makuba, let me come to you. You are leaving one of these political parties, the NPP, to say that you want to form a new political party. Are you hoping to be the third force?
Well, if we want to call it third force, then that's what it is. The point is that the structure as we have is not working. The point is we are not ready even for the third force. It's because why would you say things such that if a new party has to come to town, it has to have this offices in all districts? How much money do I have? Did I tell you I want to win all districts? No. And this is how a new party develops. You start small. As you go forward, you get bigger, until you become a major party. Don't we know that? But we have set it up for the new party to fail. You can't do it. How much money do you have to go and all around the country have offices? Can you pay them? Until or unless you have the money, how you get it doesn't matter. Steal it if you have to. To do all those things, it's not going to work. You know why NDC came into power?
Tell me.
Because Wallace was president. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do it. Because he was president, he used state funds to support the party. Very simple. So we are not even ready. We have not channeled the system in such a way that will allow new parties to come into being. If I'm a new party, you don't expect me to win 100 seats just right off the bat. But if I win 3, and the next time I'm still talking and I get 20, I'm coming forward small until become a major contender. That's how we do. But we have set things up that you can't do it. That's the problem.
But Doc, these kinds of conversations begin from the classroom, then they get into the minds of the people who will be practicing as political scientists in the various political parties and institutions. Are you teaching this new idea to your students, or is it just the same old?
Well, if you teach students, all they rely on is what they know. But sometimes you can teach them that there's something new. In Ghana, we don't teach imagination. We don't teach new things. Look, in our language, you say, not so. It is not true. What is imagination then? So we cannot come up with something new? No, they won't accept it. The people will not accept it because they have not seen it. They don't know how it works. And if you tell, hold on just a minute, I'll explain to you, no. It's more comfortable with what he's seen. The whole system is messed up. It's wrong. Everything I look at is not working properly. It's upside down. Our education system is upside down. Well, okay, you go to school, they teach economics. The basic principle is supply and demand, not so.
That's right.
Supply and demand defines economics. It's not true. Greed is a big part of it. And yet we don't talk about that. If the white people want to send things this way to teach their children, let them. But can we do the same thing as them? No. And yet we just follow them. I can tell you so many disciplines is the same thing. You are sitting in Ghana, you are saying supply and demand. Our supply comes from China. We don't produce anything. So we don't fit that economic model, and yet that's what we're doing. This is why we are in trouble.
I see.
We go, come back to the same point again. Why?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know what to say. It's just the whole system is broken. We are running a broken system, pretty much. When we talk about third force, yes, it will help, but it will come to the same thing. Because you are bringing in third force, instead of getting money for doing development and things like that, you want to bring more politicians, not so. What are you doing? It means there will not be much left for development or doing the work.
You raised an earlier point about the system being fashioned out to make you fail, even if you want to depart from the norm or the practice, as it were. Now, don't you also think that if we, for example, say that, well, you don't have to have offices in all the 276 constituencies, you just need a small office at maybe Kokobrimle or Lashibi, and that's fine to qualify you as a political party, then we may have more than 100 political parties, don't you think so, sir?
So be it. If that's the case, some of them will go out of business. This is how it is. You don't force them, but some of them will go out of business. People are reasonable. They will know that if we do this, it won't work. But if you allow them on their own to evolve, that's how it's supposed to be, to evolve, people will come to say, hey, these people, they are good, let's support them. But if you want to see that a party is all of a sudden, a party that is not in existence, can have this many offices nationwide, how is that possible? How is that possible? But it is very possible when they grow gradually. They are very good, they articulate, they speak, so they want this constituency. Okay, the next time they're moving forward. We can set things up where that is allowed. With certain demands that you have to meet to be able to go forward. But we don't do that.
Great.
So now we've locked everybody out. And only the two parties are in charge.
I see.
I can attest to that because as much as I like to start this party, well, do you have the resources to do the thing the way they've set it up? No, I don't. Unless people come in.
I see.
To join and help.
Great. Dr. Makoba, thank you very much indeed for your time. We're grateful.
Thank you.
Dr. Tutuboy, let me pick up the conversation from where Dr. Makoba left off and ask you about political party funding. So he complains about the fact that you may have the idea, you may have the personnel, but in terms of the financial resources, you may not have the wherewithal. Should we now be looking at proper ways of public financing of political parties so that your idea doesn't die because there's a certain system that has been created that precludes you from participating actively?
Yes, I wholly support that idea. And it has been one of my advocacy, since I got into politics. And I say that because political party funding, is key. If we can have very good regulation, to regulate it and to make it very viable, I think that it will be good for us as a country. It will even help us to control the extent of corruption that we are experiencing among politicians and other public, offices. I feel that, again, the funding, probably, if we are going to have a discussion on it, should be regulated. Earlier on, we were asking Dr. Makumba about, that issue about where you can just put up one office, and then set up a political party. If the funding comes in, it is equally going to bring a lot more interest, into our body politics, meaning that people, independent candidates, political parties are going to spring up everywhere. All right, and what it means is that they are all going to, chase that same booty that is available for political parties in terms of their funding. So the regulations should be tight, and that is where I may want to depart from Dr. Amoakon's, Amoakomba's claim that, we can open the system up, for a lot more people or a lot more political parties to spring up. I don't think that idea, will be good for us as a country and our democracy going forward. In every institution, you need regulations, to control. So my view is that political party is not just like the sale of pure water or, water on the streets of Accra, where, anybody at all with hundreds of CDs or something can start a water, business. Political party is a big industry, all right? It is found within a very big industry. And so what it means is that even if you want to invest in politics, it means that you must have all the resources,
right,
to do that. And you should also be able to, bring in resources from reliable sponsors.
Great.
Okay, it is not just in Ghana.
I hear you.
The Democrats, the Republicans, they all do it.
Thank you.
The party's resources cannot actually fund them. So that is where the laws and regulations of funding comes in.
Thank you.
So that
I'm grateful.
accountability becomes a very...
Our time is up, Dr. Tutu Bwahina. Our time is up. Sorry about that. I'm grateful for your time this morning. Moza, you have the closing thoughts. Now, I'm interested in the demographics in terms of men, women, children, youthful people. Who is clamoring for the third force? Tell me.
Now, I looked at two set of data, more demographic, in terms of age and in terms of party affiliation. In terms of party affiliation, only 22% of NPP voters are sympathetic to the idea of third force. But this number rises to 30% for NDC, and it goes to 43% for floating voters. So it means that the window or the door is wider open among floating voters than NDC, and the least is MPP. Now, for those who's kind of sitting on the fence waiting to see, or they have no idea, it's about 17% across board, across all the parties. Now, in terms of those who oppose it, 61% of MPP oppose the idea of third force. So you could see that MPP is more conservative from this data than the other party blocks, for example, NDC and floating voters. Whereas NDC and floating voters are amiable to third force, MPP is hugely opposed to it. Now, when you come to the demography of voting in terms of age, now among people who are 18 to 24 years, 24% support the idea of third force, but 38% oppose it. But majority, 39%, are kind of wait to see, no opinion, which means that there's a window there for them to be convinced to accept it. And then for those who are between 24 and 34 years old, that is where most of the support is at the moment. 41% of them said yes to the idea of third force. But around 40% said no to third force, and 13% are on the fence. For those who are 35 to 44 years, 26% support the idea of third force. Those who are 45 to 54 is 25%, and 55 to 64, 27%, and above 65, still above 20%, about 23%. So there is a window there. It is up to the third force group to justify their existence or to make case for themselves and for them to be taken seriously. I think the idea of just coming around election and disappear is not helping them. They must have system in place. They must have a party machinery in place to begin to let people see what they can do beyond election cycle.
Musa Dankwa, I'm grateful always spending my morning with you. Thank you. As Chief Servant at Global Info Analytics, and they're always looking for trouble, looking to places where nobody wants to look into. But that's Musa Dankwa right there. And just some bit of information for you. We'll take a quick break. When we return from that break, we'll talk briefly about Galamsey and then we'll wrap up our show.